What if the most powerful people in America aren't the ones you vote for? What if presidents come and go, but someone else stays? What if, behind every major war, coup, surveillance program, and assassination plot, there's a quiet network of men working in secret? Not fiction, not fantasy. This is the story of the deep state, the real one. And it starts with a photograph. In 1962, a US spy plane soared above Cuba. At 60,000 feet, it captured what looked like farmland. But when analysts zoomed in, they saw something chilling. Canvas tents, vehicles, long tubes covered in camouflage netting. They weren't ordinary trailers. They were nuclear missiles, Soviet-made, planted in Cuban soil, just 103 miles from Florida. In that moment, the world stood on the edge of annihilation. Washington buzzed with urgency. Advisors demanded immediate invasion. The military prepared for war. But President John F. Kennedy left the Situation Room. He got in a car and went to a party. Not just any party. A cocktail gathering in the leafy, affluent neighborhood of Georgetown. Why? Because in that neighborhood lived the real power players of Washington. Not senators, not cabinet members, but men like Allen Dulles, the longest-serving CIA director in history, William Colby, who would later run the agency, Frank Wisner, head of covert operations, and top diplomats, judges, and war planners. All of them within blocks of each other. Even Kennedy himself had a house here. It wasn't the Capitol Hill elite. It was the shadow circle, the insiders, the ones who didn't run for office, but often decided who won wars, who rose, and who fell. This wasn't some secret society. It was just Washington, off the record, and it wasn't new. The roots of the deep state were planted decades earlier, during the largest conflict the world had ever seen, World War II. Back then, the US had no standing intelligence agency. But after Pearl Harbor, President Franklin Roosevelt authorized something radical. He tapped a man named William Wild Bill Donovan, a Wall Street lawyer turned war hero, to build an organization that could wage secret warfare, sabotage, propaganda, covert missions. Donovan created the OSS, Office of Strategic Services. Its mission, protect American interests, by any means necessary. And that's exactly what they did. They recruited Ivy League scholars and socialites. They spread fake news through counterfeit newspapers. They sabotaged rail lines. They parachuted agents into enemy territory. They even devised wild plans, like releasing aphrodisiacs over enemy camps to distract soldiers, or trying to demoralize Hitler with doctored pornography. It was brilliant, chaotic, and effective. And when the war ended in 1945, President Truman shut it all down. He didn't want a permanent spy agency. He feared creating a Gestapo-like entity in the US, a secret police force too powerful to control. But the Cold War had already begun. Stalin took Eastern Europe. Berlin was divided. The nuclear arms race started ticking, and the OSS veterans, Donovan's recruits, weren't ready to walk away. They warned that America needed a new kind of weapon, one that didn't wear uniforms, one that didn't follow the rules of engagement. In 1947, Truman gave in. He signed the National Security Act, creating the CIA, Central Intelligence Agency. Its charter was vague by design: to collect intelligence and perform such other duties as the National Security Council may direct. That phrase, other duties, became a blank check. The CIA was born, and so was the modern deep state. Almost immediately it went global. In 1953, the CIA orchestrated a coup in Iran, toppling Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh after he tried to nationalize oil. It wasn't just geopolitics. It was business. British and American oil companies wanted access. The CIA delivered. In 1954, it happened again, in Guatemala. A democratically elected government wanted to give land back to the people. But the United Fruit Company, a powerful US corporation, had other plans. The CIA removed the president. Throughout the 1950s and 60s, this playbook repeated. Congo, Chile, Indonesia, Greece, Vietnam, Laos, each with varying degrees of secrecy, justification, and bloodshed. Meanwhile, at home, the CIA turned its sights inward. In 1953, the agency launched MKUltra, a top-secret mind control experiment. Using LSD, electroshock, and psychological torture, they tested ways to manipulate the human brain. Most victims had no idea they were part of an experiment. Some died, others were institutionalized. There was no oversight, no accountability, and it didn't stop there. During the 1960s, as the Vietnam War raged and anti-war protests erupted, the CIA launched Operation Chaos. Its goal? Spy on Americans. They tapped phones, read mail, infiltrated college campuses. Even Martin Luther King Jr. became a target, monitored, blackmailed, and threatened by the FBI and CIA. The FBI's COINTELPRO program planted agents in civil rights movements, spread disinformation, and tried to discredit leaders. And through Operation Mockingbird, the CIA secretly paid journalists to spread propaganda in American newspapers and TV. For decades, the public had no idea, until the dam broke. In 1975, Senator Frank Church led a Senate investigation into U.S. intelligence abuses. The Church Committee held televised hearings. The public learned about assassination plots against foreign leaders, illegal surveillance of American citizens, drug experiments, media manipulation, and programs so secret, even presidents hadn't been briefed. The country was stunned. Even Harry Truman, the man who created the CIA, wrote in the Washington Post, "I never intended the CIA to become a government unto itself, able to influence foreign policy and domestic affairs." For the first time, America saw the deep state, not as a theory, but as fact. In response, Congress created oversight committees. Laws were passed. Transparency was promised. For a while it worked. But then came September 11th, 2001. Terrorism struck New York and Washington, and with fear came urgency. The Patriot Act expanded surveillance powers. New intelligence agencies were created. Old ones were empowered. The CIA launched black site prisons where torture, called enhanced interrogation, was practiced in secret. The NSA began monitoring phone calls, emails, browser history, without warrants. And in 2013, contractor Edward Snowden leaked classified documents exposing the vast surveillance web. The US government, he revealed, was collecting data on millions of Americans without their knowledge. Phone records, online activity, even webcam feeds. It wasn't paranoia, it was real. Snowden's leaks confirmed what many feared. The deep state had returned, bigger, bolder, and more entrenched than ever. And yet, every president since has promised to rein it in. Barack Obama criticized mass surveillance, then expanded drone strikes and secret programs. Donald Trump vowed to drain the swamp, but faced resistance from intelligence insiders at every turn. Joe Biden has pledged transparency, but inherited a machine that no president seems able to stop. Because the truth is, it's not about left or right, it's about control. The deep state isn't a cabal. It's not a shadowy room of villains plotting world domination. It's a system of career operatives, intelligence veterans, and government lifers who operate outside the spotlight. Presidents may come and go, but the machine stays. And over decades, that machine has grown stronger and less accountable. Some say it's necessary to protect us from threats we don't see. Others say it's the greatest threat to democracy we've ever faced. But one thing is undeniable. We've traded liberty for security, transparency for secrecy, control for convenience. We've built a fourth branch of government, one that operates without votes, without press briefings, and often without limits. It watches, it records, it remembers, and it rarely apologizes. So the next time someone says deep state with a smirk, ask them if they know what happened in Iran in 1953, or Guatemala in 1954, or Chile in 1973, or to American students in 1968, or what the CIA and NSA are doing right now, behind classified walls. Because this isn't about conspiracy, it's about accountability. And the question we must ask now isn't whether the deep state is real. The question is, what are we willing to do to keep it in check? And how much of our democracy are we willing to lose in the process?